Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into Season 4 of The Finals. Was it a hit or a miss? Let's break it down. First up, let's talk about the weapons and their changes. But before we jump into the new arsenal, we need to touch on the sacred DPS pyramid. This concept helps us understand weapon balance. The more forgiving a weapon is, think fire rate, ammo capacity, and recoil, the lower its DPS should be. Here's the basic idea. With a fast-firing SMG, you can afford to miss a few shots without tanking your DPS. On the other hand, missing with a DMR or burst rifle can hurt your DPS really bad. So generally, the lower the fire rate, the higher the DPS of the weapon should be. On a side note, this science does not include any guns that shoot slower than slide canceling or general movement intermission. This is because those guns can be combined with more movement. That extra movement will only impact average skill players, but even still, the gun requires less tracking skill and more flick shots, which are generally easier to hit. Obviously, this science also only applies to same class weapons. The light weapons should all have the highest DPS no matter what, and the heavy weapons should all have the lowest DPS no matter what, excluding, of course, the light sniper. The game currently has a perfect balance, so that way the heavy will always beat the medium and the light in 100% accuracy, no crit setup. Here's what the pyramid looks like. Coming in at number 1 for most DPS in their applicable range should be DMRs. Number 2 should be burst rifles. Number 3 should be auto shotguns or just faster firing shotguns. Number 4 should be most assault rifles. Number 5 should be most LMGs. Number 6 should be most SMGs. Number 7 should be shotguns if they fire slower than your movement intermissions. And number 8 should be snipers. I won't include melee weapons here as they are usually outpaced by ranged options in competitive play. Now, how well did the devs stick to this sacred pyramid? Let's find out. Well, starting out with the dual deagles, these things are a beast. Definitely balance well when considered the skill to use them and the range at which they are viable. Also, these beasts feel insanely cool to use. Picture running through the map delivering doses of pure American power as a 400-pound interracial male. This sensation is amazing. Next, onto the shotgun. This weapon is a little underpowered, but its mag size and reload time make me lean towards not buffing or nerfing it right now. Since the gun does fire faster than your movement intermissions, it would behoove you most to strafe back and forth shooting or dashing while tracking, rather than slide canceling type of movement. Use this gun more as a burst assault rifle in close quarters combat, rather than a shotgun similar to the sawed-off or 1887. Since its hipfire and ADS spread is the same, you don't need to aim in. That feature is neat and makes the gun feel easier to use. Ultimately, if you are a light, I would not recommend using this unless you want a shotgun light but also have bad aim. Finally, onto the new DMR. The new DMR is insane. I will definitely be maining this as my medium gun. It appears to have extremely high DPS close and far range. Not only that, but this thing looks dope too. Also, you get a 2x scope for it, which I personally enjoy more than the irons. I don't believe this will be getting nerfed because it requires a lot of skill to use, similar to the LH1. Unfortunately, with the new DMR, there is a downside to using it. When you are out of the 50-meter range, do not strafe when shooting your opponents. And the reason for this is because when you strafe, this is the only gun that does this. Literally the only gun in the game that does this. Its sights become unaligned when you strafe. So it's not going to be shooting on that little yellow dot in the middle of the sight because it becomes unaligned at about 50 meters out. The unalignment really plays into your aim. So when you're like 50 meters out, just do not strafe back and forth. Just stand still and just boom, boom, boom. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard for you to hit your shots. On to one of the biggest controversies of this game, the new scope system the finals added, I personally think is phenomenal. I originally also thought this would kill the game because it would make certain guns useless, but I now realize I was incorrect. For example, FCAR is still an applicable medium gun because of its more consistent recoil when compared to the AK. Some guns have 1x red dot sights while others have 2x sights, or the option to use irons instead of traditional sights. Sights will range from 400 to 800 coins to equip. And back onto that FCAR and its more consistent recoil when compared to the AK. Basically, if you're shooting with the AK right now, you're going to notice it has a lot of shake. So the AK, it's way kind of more just luck based to use rather than skill based because of that shake that's just uncontrollable. And then the FCAR is just sort of like a solid line. So if you're good at that recoil control, you will be good at the FCAR. Now we've got to discuss some key changes. Mesh shield. This got a cooldown increase. The cooldown activates once you put the mesh shield down. This is great for balancing. It's now more about defensive than offensive, allowing you to protect your team without being overly aggressive. Previously, this gadget allowed flame users to rush you while blocking your bullets, and that was just ridiculous. Sniper nerf. The bullet drop adjustment won't affect competitive play because snipers in competitive play closer anyway, but it does encourage non-competitive players to engage more actively instead of camping. Say goodbye to power shift snipers camping halfway across the world in fucking Beijing. Dagger changes. These changes have been useless. You can now run while backstabbing, but you have to charge the backstab similar to the bow. I haven't found this useful. If you are getting attacked by a dagger main, just turn around. Should be easy unless you are narcoleptic. The AK got the slightest adjustment ever. It just has a slight bullet count reduction. This isn't going to be a game changer, but for those people who usually do miss a lot of bullets and take more than an entire magazine to kill one person, you're cooked. RPGs. Sorry, heavy mains, but these are pretty much useless now. You'll likely get out DPS by lights. They're only good for breaking structures at range. If you are a light and you see a heavy, wave goodbye to the days of waiting for him to fire. Just rush in and beam his ass now, as you will be able to get more DPS in than he will be able to get in when he fires his RPG and switches to his primary. Riot Shield buff. A small damage increase is practically useless against most classes, except for the heavy. Now you can 4-shot a heavy, so this was just generally a quality of life buff. Tracking dart. This is now one of the least effective gadgets in the game. Just stick to sonar. Its tracking time went down from 30 seconds to 10 seconds. This thing is literally useless. Breach charges and smokes. I personally love using breach charges, C4, and dematerializer because of how insane you can play them with your team. For example, play in the room under the objective, fill it up with explosives and grenades at the ready, then drop that shit down or fill it with smoke and a heat-seeking light. Also, it can be useful to fake out a breach and then breach somewhere else. Now, you get an extra breach charge, which is lit. Also, speaking of smokes, now you get 3 smokes instead of 2. Glitch trap. Sadly, the glitch trap only has 1 charge, but you can still have 2 on the map. Honestly, instead of running glitch traps to combat dashing lights this season, you should just run up better fucking aim. Explosive mines. Explosive mines also got the same nerf as glitch traps. They are still good though if someone is chasing you to Timbuktu. Although the damage was nerfed insignificantly from 140 to 120, honestly, I'm personally not going to be using explosive mines on my heavy anymore. Healing beam. The healing beam got nerfed, so it now heals less per second. Honestly, this is pretty useless because I never found it helpful to heal your friend from a distance rather than just joining in the fight. For me, the healing beam was just used whenever we had cover and knew they wouldn't push, or when my friend returned from combat after barely surviving. Shape changer. Hey everyone, the gadget that nobody fucking used got buffed. I don't even remember this thing's name. I'm pretty sure it's called the shape changer or something. It now has more range and more charges. Still fucking useless though. Just shoot the damn turret instead. Medium grenade launcher. The medium grenade launcher got a large buff. It now does more damage. So that's just wonderful. Not. This gun didn't need a buff. The skill requirement for this shit was so fucking low. It needs less DPS, not more. This weapon should experience the mesh shield nerf. Turn it into a defensive weapon rather than an offensive one. M60. The M60 received an unneeded change to its fire rate and recoil. The M60 is now just a better version of the Lewis gun. There's literally no point to use the Lewis gun anymore. Dematerializer. The dematerializer got a much needed buff. Do you guys remember when you would dematerialize and then get blocked by a painting or pipe or another wall? Well, not anymore, because the dematerializer now functions in a cluster format, allowing it to open up more space per charge. Now, let's move on to my opinion of the new map. Keep in mind this is totally an opinion, and if you disagree with me, you're simply just wrong. I personally think the new map is pretty bad. After it's experienced a little bit of combat, it sort of just looks like it was inhabited by homeless people and then they all got kicked out. One of the features I love about the finals is tactically moving through a city or historical location with your team gunning opponents down. This makes me feel like I'm part of SEAL Team 6. Me and my friends dislike all the fantasy maps like SYS Horizon and this new map as well, so I am a little biased towards it. Now we've got to move on to the battle pass. I'm sure none of you guys care about what I think about the cosmetics, but this battle pass has got to be the best pass I've seen since season 6 of Fortnite. Every single skin is a bop. There are 0 sweaty anime skins. Boo! Did I scare you, anime skin users? I'm a bar of soap, by the way. But on a real note, the 2 fencing skin variants are super neat, and the Riot Shield character looks insane. I mean, the mask is phenomenal. I can just picture my skillless friends running around with their Riot Shields and their Riot Officer skin, beating the darkness out of everyone, while I sit behind them wearing the lustrous medic skin and heal them to full HP while beaming my opponents. Finally, thank the Lord we got some good weapon skins this battle pass, because let's be for real, the weapon skins last pass were shit. I give this battle pass an 11 out of 10. Conclusion. So what's the verdict on season 4 of the finals? The weapon changes are pretty good with some interesting additions and adjustments. What do you think? Did the developers hit the mark, or is there still work to be done? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more updates. See you in the next one.